Lesson 65 on page 90. Today we're going to talk about tempo and rhythm and the difference between these two things. Um, Tempo, or otherwise known as chroniki αγωγή, if you remember, we use those chi letters with a gorgon or argon at the top, and that's how we define how fast or slow we go. Tempo, it's exactly that. It's how fast or slow you keep beat. So you can keep beat like this, or like this, or even slower like that. Okay, so that is tempo. It is the time between consecutive theses. You remember thesis, kiarsis, chronos enas. So from one thesis to the next, you measure it, you're using your stopwatch, and you say there is 1 second between these two beats, and this is your tempo. Now, rhythm is not the same thing. Rhythm is the arrangement of the beats into a pattern, no matter how fast or slow those beats are. The tempo used so far, thesis, kiarsis, chronos enas, is sometimes called simple tempo or chronos απλούς. And that's what we've been using so far. Every character of quantity gets its own beat, its own chronos, its own thesis. Double tempo or chronos διπλούς or double counting of tempo is when we arrange those beats into a pattern of two. Thesis and arsis are not one beat anymore, but two beats. Let's see an example of that. Let's say we start from ke and we have 4 isa. Each ison is going to be on the thesis, denoted by the arrow that looks down, that goes down. This is the thesis from up, down. And each one of them is going to receive its own beat. Ge, 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 ge. Ge, 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 ge. This is chronos απλούς, simple chronos. Now, if we wanted to count that, we would count each thesis, each ison, as its own chronos. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. If we took these two first beats and we arranged them into a group, and then the next two beats and we arrange them into another group, then we would create a rhythm. And this is the simplest kind of rhythm you can have, arranging beats in two groups. Απλός χρόνος, και, διπλούς χρόνος, και. Okay, let me do my hand here so you can see. Απλός χρόνος, και. Διπλός, και. Okay. Now we talked about Byzantine music depending very heavily on the text. And the text in the Greek language happens to be tonal. In other words, you have syllables that they are accented more than others. For example, ευλογητός Kyrie. The word Kyrie has 3 syllables, and ki is accented, Kyrie. So naturally, the word Kyrie wants to receive 3 beats because it's Kyrie. It has 3 syllables. The first one is accented, and that's exactly what we chant, Kyrie. Each character of quantity takes its own beat and its own syllable. If you are counting chronos aplos, there is no problem. You don't even need to think about a rhythm. Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. Απλός χρόνος. You can say it a little bit faster too. Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. But now imagine you are in church. You don't want to be keeping such a fast tempo in church. Even with your finger, or you shouldn't be making any noises anyhow. You shouldn't be knocking any pans in church. But even so, it is too fast to keep tempo. So you can switch to double counting and you can say Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. Let's go and see how that works out. Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. Okay, let me move my hand here so you can see. Ev goes on the arsis. Ευλογητός η Κύριε, Κύριε. 1, 2, 3. Δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. Or 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, if you want to count them like that. Okay? Sometimes we borrow these bar lines from the staff notation of the Western music. And in newer books, not in the older editions, but in the newer editions, you will even see the number 3 to indicate that between this bar and the next bar, we have 3 beats. So basically what happens here is that you temporarily escape from the double counting. You enter one bar of 3 beats just to emphasize a word like Kyrie. And then you return back to double counting. Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα δικαιώματα σου. Much better than Ευλογητός η Κύριε δίδαξον με τα So you can see the difference. So double counting makes it easier for you to count. It's a little bit more lively. It flows better. It's not ideal for teaching, but in church, when you're practicing and you're an experienced chanter, many people are using double counting. So I wanted to explain it to you. So if you hear any traditional chanters do it, it doesn't take you by surprise. In church, we typically use double tempo, but in home practice and learning, we use simple tempo. And that's what we've been doing so far in this book. And I will continue to be using simple tempo. But I just wanted to let you know that these rhythms do exist. They are perfectly fine to switch from one grouping of beats, one kind of a rhythm, to another. That's perfectly fine in Byzantine music. And this is perfectly fine because our music clothes the text. And if the text wants 3 beats in one place and 2 beats in another place, who are we to tell the text what to do? As musicians, we are serving the logos, we are serving the text. So I'm going to leave you with this remark that I always want you to remember. You're not merely musicians, you're not merely performers, you are not entertainers. You are not there to entertain people. You are there to use music to help people pray, understand the lyrics, and even use music to remember the lyrics. So I'm going to leave you with that very important teaching. And next time, we are going to start learning the doxologies in all 8 echoes, starting from the first mode. Thank you and see you next time.